So without any further ado, if I haven't had the privilege of meeting you, my name is Kristen Schrader, and I have this incredible opportunity to lead the partnership team here at Parker Dewey and work with so many of you that are saying hello. So greetings, and again, thank you so much. And if I seem maybe a little bit more smiley and excited than normal, it's because I am exuberantly excited to share with you this major update that we are bringing to the fold and officially launching and announcing today with Parker Dewey Plus. And so want to give you a bit of a roadmap of where we're going for today's conversation. Just like every webinar, we are recording. Happy to share the slides, the link to the, of course, to the recording, and of course to follow up with any questions. But again, feel free, keep using that chat. My colleagues are joining today, so certainly I know Danielle would be more than happy to follow up, as I know many of you work very closely with Danielle as well. But what we're going to talk about, so Parker Dewey is officially launching a variety of different partnership options, and options being a key word because we've heard from you that there is a demand and a need for some additional information, data, access, and just resources to be able to empower you to better help and support your students and better help and support your employers, your alumni, or whatever other stakeholders that you're directly working with. So we're excited to share this with you and to share this new tool, Parker Dewey Plus, that will allow you to be able to do a whole lot more with what you can currently do on this with partnerships and Parker Dewey. So we'll talk about these different options, why we're doing this in the first place, and in terms of the features and functions of Parker Dewey Plus, I'll share if you work with students, if you work with employers, there's something for everyone here. And then also want to share with you live what it is that that we've built here. I'm going to close by talking about some potential funding sources that, in chatting with many of you about creating this tool, there were some ideas about, oh, okay, this could be fit in here, here, or here. So I want to share some of those ideas with you en masse. And then, of course, how you can get started. So I did see a couple folks in the chat here. Feel free to, if you have questions, go ahead and plug them right into the chat. Do have a fair amount to cover here today, so I want to make sure we stay on task and also get your questions addressed. And as Jeffrey, who's our CEO, is joining us in the chat, as alluded to, this Parker Dewey Plus feature is something that we've been talking about for quite some time, but it's been built based on what we've heard from you, because this idea of these short-term professional projects, micro internships, nothing new. We started it in 2015, but obviously there's been a lot going on over the past 9 years. And so during that time, we've had the incredible honor and privilege of partnering with hundreds of institutions, colleges, universities, nonprofits, boot camps, organizations providing a wide variety of educational opportunities and experiences to students from all backgrounds. And we're so excited and honored to partner with so many of you on this call. But we've heard from you that in order to enhance your outcomes, you need and want data, and that you want some ideas, some ways about how this concept can best be implemented to support and serve students, employers, alumni, and other stakeholders, and all while creating additional paid opportunities for your students. Paid and professional, that's not going away. That's entirely what we're here to talk about. But what I want to plant the seed for all of you today is how we can move beyond just the singular project, because it's wonderful when one student and one organization connect via these real world paid projects on that singular project. That's great for that student and for that employer. That's wonderful. But what about the next student that you meet with, or the next employer that you're hearing that has this pain point? Well, that is what we're seeing in this evolution of micro internships, is how it's becoming more than just this one and done kind of thing, but rather a more ongoing resource for students and for organizations to connect real-time year-round, and also to be able to determine, is there a mutual fit for hiring for something long-term, internship, full-time, part-time, whatever that case might be. And that is what we're seeing in this evolution of micro internships, is that it's more than just a project. It's becoming an integral part of organizations' hiring strategies for early career talent. They want to connect with students. They want to get to know them. Let's give them an easy and effective method to do so. And that's what we're seeing with this micro internship. And with Parker Dewey Plus, we're going to be giving you this access to be able to see what all is going on in this ecosystem for your students real time. And just to kind of elaborate a little bit more, this win or triple win, as we like to say, with companies, it's de-risking the hiring process. It's allowing organizations to connect with a wide variety, and we say diverse candidates. I know that word's thrown around quite a bit, but what we're seeing with the data is that the students who are selected for micro internships come from backgrounds that emulate who is in American higher education, because this short-term projects, the flexibility of being able to engage anytime, anywhere, really meets the needs of today's students that need and that flexibility, and they need to be able to demonstrate their skills. They need and want that real experience, that opportunity to connect directly with a real organization. This is not a simulated anything. And then they also need to get paid because they have bills to pay and other financial obligations. And of course, in higher ed, we all want that. We want to be able to bring all of those entities together. And we do see how this becomes, again, that triple win, with you being that third entity. So here's your new options when it comes to partnering with Parker Dewey. We're excited to share that the partnerships that we have always had, we call it the basic partnerships, continue to be no cost to your institution. And as you can see, those branded student and employer landing pages that we've already created for many of you, those aren't going away. We want you to use them. We want you to share micro internships with your students, employers, and any other stakeholders that you are using and wanting, and who see a value and advantage to this. We want to support any sort of ways that you want to spread the word, whether it be presentations. We want to be able to share data. We are scaling back on how many presentations we can do. It's just, we can't be in one place at 100 places all at once. And so we do have a variety of different opportunities for you to share standing events that we host every month with your students, with your employers. And those are already, they have been in place for the last couple of years now. And so those are continue to be options that you can certainly share. And we encourage you to take advantage of. The data starting in January of 2025 will be available to you on an annual basis. And again, the reason is bandwidth, but also we want to make sure that you are really enjoying and taking full advantage of the tool and the resources that are available. And so that's where, again, we're happy to share that student engagement data. It is going to be moving to an annual basis starting in the new year. We'll also share the feedback that your students have received from employers. So you get that real-time assessment of, hey, what are your students' strengths and opportunities? But coupled with that, we're rolling out 2 additional options for you to be able to partner with us and get that access on demand. And as you can see, Parker Dewey Plus, biggest thing, and I'll share with you in a moment, is that you will have access to all of the engagement from your students and employers, who's been selected, what feedback everybody's received, and including being able to see and log in and see your students' accounts. How did they respond to that application question? Be able to download an impact report so that you can take to whoever the powers that be are at your institution that want to know, okay, what's going on with micro internships? We're promoting this. What are our students doing with it? You'll be able to have those results. And again, I'll show that to you momentarily. Lastly, we are offering an additional option. This has been in existence for a few years now, thanks to requests from many of our partners who have said, hey, I want to provide funding for micro internships just for my students. And so that is the third, we're calling it the program option. where if you are able to provide $10,000 or more in funding for micro internships for your students, you can have this Parker Dewey Plus tool at no cost, in addition to the the other benefits that you see. And so the programs can be of any size, scale, shape, etc. That 20 plus micro internships, that depends on how you would want to structure that program. Most organizations and institutions who are offering programs say we want to stretch the dollars to support as many students as possible. And so that's where, okay, we can do that with shorter projects. You can certainly support more students than say the same $10,000. It might support only a handful of students doing longer term internships. So those are just additional options depending on your goals and the needs that you have. Now, if you're interested in hearing a bit more about what these programs are, how Parker Dewey can provide support with managing those programs so they become very low lift and turnkey for you. We did have a session last week that gave you some ideas of some current schools that are offering programs and just to give different examples. So that recording you can certainly check out and is available. We'll send around the links to these different resources. But the next one isn't in for a few more months, but again, you can access the recording that we just posted just last week if that's helpful. So why Parker Dewey Plus? Why? Well, simple reason is you've asked for it. This is something that I remember when I first met with Jeffrey, probably about 6-ish years ago now, when I was at the University of Maryland Global Campus, hearing about, oh, micro internships, that sounds cool. Well, this would be really useful to be able to share with my students. But even at that time, I'm thinking, gosh, I would love to know how many of my students are participating, how many students are, who they're working with, how many employers would be engaged with this tool, and so on. So conversations like that I initially had, and then of course have had with hundreds of colleges and universities since then, and since joining the team, you've all said, we want this. We want that immediate access to data. We want to understand engagement. We want to make it easy to market and share these with our students because nobody has extra time. You've also told us that you need some of these things as well. Pretty much every day I have a conversation with a school that says, experiential learning is going to be required at my institution. And we need some options for our students that fit within their schedules that they can do in conjunction with whatever else they've got going on. We also heard that you have a KPI, you're being asked to engage with more and more and more employers. You need the data to understand who those organizations are. What are they doing with your students? And of course, we all want students getting hired. And so being able to share data around that is obviously extremely important. So that begs the question of why now? Well, for the simple reason is there's a lot more data to share with you all. The number of micro internships has grown 3 to 5 times year over year since 2020. It's just really, really been very busy and grown significantly over the past 4 years. And so, more projects, more data, and more value for you all. And it will continue to provide and drive more value the more you want to take advantage with sharing this tool and these resources with your students, with your employers, and any other stakeholders. Now, why the cost? And this is the sticky question. And I completely understand, having worked in higher ed with very limited budgets myself. And the reality is that there is a significant investment to not only build a platform like this, but also to maintain it, to also be able to continue to add new features and functions based on feedback from you. And we've got a list of things internally that we've said, yeah, we want to see it do this, this, and this. And we will continue to add to the current setup and the current features and functions based on the feedback that we receive. But our mission and goal here at Parker Dewey is always to put as much money into the students' pockets as possible. And so that's why, again, this is something that we're giving the option for those who want this on-demand access to be able to fund it via this 1-year subscription. There is, though, still the no-cost basic partnership available for any institution or organization that is unable to provide the funding or be able to self-fund Parker Dewey Plus. That is something that is of paramount importance to us in terms of our mission of making sure that Parker Dewey and micro internships are as accessible as possible, irrespective of where students go to school, of a budget of a higher education institution, and regardless. We really want to make this a resource that you and your students and employer partners can take full advantage of. And again, new features are coming. This is what we have thus far. And so, without any further ado, if you work with students, I'm going to share with you a few specific things, and then we'll dig into the tool live so you can see it firsthand. So for those of you who are student-facing, we now have a live dashboard where you can see some specific KPIs, high-level overview that we provide to you. Those of you requesting data on a quarterly basis or what have you, these are things that we share with you on, via the, those reports. But again, you'll be able to pull this on demand. You can log in and see your students, see their profiles, see their application responses, see how the company has, what feedback they've given to them. And you'll be able to quickly download a list of those projects that are currently available to your students. So if you want to send out an email to students, hey, here are the micro internships currently live and available, great. I'll show you how you can do that very easily. If you work with employers, again, on-demand reporting so that you can quickly and easily see who are those companies that you've met with, that you've said, hey, micro internships, you should sign up. They sound like a great solution for whatever your problem that you just shared might be. You can see, did they sign up? Did they create an account? Did they post a project? All of those great details you'll be able to see on demand. And you'll be able to see those companies who have hired your students, who have worked with them. And maybe they're companies that you know and recognize and just had in your office. Maybe they're companies that have never recruited at your institution, but you see, gosh, they've hired X number of our students and they gave them great feedback. And what do you know? They're located just down the street or in the next city or whatever. They should be recruiting at our institution. Maybe we should reach out to them and say, hey, come to our next event or whatever that might be. And you'll be able to download feedback from these employers so that you can really understand where are your students' strengths and where are those opportunities where they maybe need a little bit of coaching. Keeping in mind that we consistently see micro internships as a great option for those students at any stage of their academic career, but particularly those who are just getting started with any sort of experiential education. Think of this as a stepping stone. So for first or second year students, they do a lot of micro internships. In fact, when I ran the data earlier about a month or so ago, thus far in 2024, 20% of the students who have completed micro internships this year are first or second year students. And that's competing against the juniors and seniors and even alumni. So they're doing a great job and they're getting selected. And so for those of you, again, looking for particularly something for those highly motivated freshmen and sophomores, again, this is a great opportunity to engage them and then see, maybe they are highly motivated, but still need a little coaching on professionalism or on turning work in on time or whatever. Okay, now you'll have that feedback and that data to be able to coach them accordingly. A few other additional features. Thanks to the brilliance of my colleague Danielle, we are also adding in a student ambassador as part of your Parker Dewey subscription. What does that mean? Well, I recognize that having extra time on your hand is not at a premium for anybody. And so with a student ambassador, you can select one of your students as part of your Parker Dewey Plus subscription. So again, and I've seen some questions here, the cost for Parker Dewey Plus is $2,000 per year. But portion of that, and in this case, the student ambassador is scoped to be a $400 project. So $400 of those dollars go back to your student to be able to run the marketing and initial planning of the launch or the relaunch of micro internships at your institution. And so you can hire one of your students. We've got already the whole scope of work of what they need to do for that project, a checklist, everything's all ready to go. And you can just pick one of your students, maybe later this summer, early this fall, and they can do the leg lifting for you or the heavy lifting for you to be able to launch your micro internship initiatives for the fall. Additionally, you'll have real easy access to some of the different partnership related resources, and I'll show you what that looks like as we dig into the tool. So if you need help with, have a question, want to just quickly send an email to Parker Dewey. If you want to reach out and where is that link to the marketing toolkit that they have, we'll have it all embedded within the tool. And then lastly, an impact report so that you can quickly show to your team, this is what has happened over the past year with micro internships at our institution. So let me go ahead and show you live what all those things are. And now there's a few questions here, but the program model, so that $10,000, keep in mind that portion of that funding is allocated towards your students, but also a portion is paying for these Parker Dewey Plus subscription. And so we can share with you some of the examples of what that looks like. You'll also see some examples of some other funding models in just a little bit. So Dylan, stay tuned. Thank you so much for the question, because the program option is certainly one that can align well given whatever it is, the different funding sources and goals that you might have. So when it comes to Parker Dewey Plus, this is something that you would log into similarly to if you have a student or an employer account. This is now when you log in, what you would see if you have that Parker Dewey Plus subscription. And so as I just mentioned, resources. I want to be able to quickly know and access all these Parker Dewey things so that I can keep it all straight. Okay, no problem. We have, for example, a partner checklist where if you work with students, or if you work with employers, we have a quick and easy checklist for you to be able to know, am I doing all the things that I maybe should think about doing to promoting Parker Dewey to students and to my employers? Quick checklist, great thing to do if you have an hour over the summer. Take care of all the things on that list that pertain to you and your role. And then you don't have to necessarily think too much about launching Parker Dewey, or better yet, if you have that student ambassador, they can take care of a lot of those things for you. Similarly, the marketing toolkit. This is that really great resource of tons of collateral so that you have at the ready all of the different types of marketing resources right here, ready to go. So you never have to hunt around for the latest email from Danielle, me, or another member of the team to know where exactly was that social media thing that I wanted to post. We can, again, have that at the ready. Upcoming events so that you can understand, okay, I want to promote the latest Parker Dewey webinar to my employers. Well, we have those on a monthly basis. Here's the link, and there you go. Or I'm doing a student newsletter and I want to invite my students to learn more about micro internships. Great, we have a monthly webinar for students as well. And then if you just want to meet with a member of our team, certainly just click that link, pick a time that works best for you, and you're good to go. Now, when it comes to the dashboard itself, one thing I will say, full disclaimer, is that this is all fake data, because as you can see, there is real student information here in that these are Parker Dewey University hypothetical students. But I'm not sharing with you a real institution because, again, we don't want to disclose something that is confidential information for your students. So that being said, any Parker Dewey Plus subscriber must have a school email address. That's the only ones we're turning on, just so that you're aware. But high level, you can see how many students or alumni at your institution have signed up, how many have applied to at least one project, how many have applied to at least 5. Why 5? Well, because when we crunch the numbers, we see that there's a real turning point between those who maybe only apply to a couple, but as soon as they start applying to 5 or more, their chances of success significantly increase, particularly if they have turned in high quality applications. And we can now see how you can judge whether or not that application response was high quality, and coach your students accordingly. So stay tuned. You can see how much money your students have earned from doing a micro internship. And this is across the board. You can use the date filter if there's a particular time frame that's of interest to you. You can see how many projects are in progress, how many have been completed, and so on. User graduation date. So are there first-year students doing micro internships? Is it more your juniors and seniors? Again, you can find that out accordingly. And then employer feedback, where you can quickly and easily see, okay, my students have done pretty well in communication. They're consistently scoring that they are rated like an industry veteran. But, overall satisfaction, it was impressive, not the highest rating, but again, something that might be a room for improvement. Similarly, their skill level was as expected. It wasn't rock star level. Okay, good to know. And again, something that you can take away and provide from a coaching standpoint, what that would ultimately look like. Students selected for projects. We all want to know who was picked, so you can quickly download that list right then and there. You can also download a list of those projects that are currently available for your students so that you can quickly see, here's the project name, here's the company name, and best yet, here's the URL, the website, where you can share that link with your students so that they can then go in and apply for the micro internships that are for that particular project if that's of interest to them. But let's dig more into the student-facing data, because I know we all need and want, whether we love data or not, here we go, because these are all downloadable reports. All of your students, you want to know who signed up because of a class presentation that you hosted last week? Well, there you go. Or, maybe you need to know how many students really did read that email, that newsletter that you sent out about Parker Dewey a few weeks ago. Well, now you can not only see who signed up, but you can also see when they signed up so that you can really measure the effectiveness of whether or not that email was the best way to reach them, that newsletter, whatever the case might be. Students selected. Again, you can download that quick and easy right here so that if you have an annual report that you're writing, if you have maybe needing some data on the outcomes of your students, maybe your state is requesting how many students have been hired for XYZ types of opportunities. Again, these are all real world resumeable experiences for your students where they are getting paid to do real work. So you now have access to be able to see that on demand. And then the previous slide gave you a high-level overview of the feedback your students have received, but you can also download the feedback and the raw data so that you can see that Jeff scored this versus Ellie who scored that versus whatever the case might be. And this not only includes the company name, the project name, but it also includes qualitative feedback. So it has quantitative and qualitative metrics to be able to truly judge what exactly that student has done well, and again, some opportunities for improvement. If you are employer facing, you also have some resources at the ready where you can quickly download those list of projects that are currently available to you as an employer facing staff member. So there's two different areas that might be relevant. And again, if you work with students, this might be helpful as well, but there's featured projects, and then there's projects posted by the school. What does that mean? Well, featured might mean that I am a part of, I'm a recruiter and I posted a project for all students in my state. So I live in Maryland and I wanted to not only post an opportunity for the University of Maryland, Towson, and say Salisbury University or whatever, great. But I can also add in community colleges, boot camps, etc. Those are projects that are featured, and it's something my students can see because of where I go to school. What's different about that is there's also this projects posted by school where I can also see those opportunities that are only available to students at my institution. And so maybe I'm an alum and I only want to pick a student from Parker Dewey University that is the list of projects that you can, again, see and quickly download very easily to share those with your students. And then lastly, how many of those companies that you just spoke to have actually created a Parker Dewey account? Well, if they sign up via the links on your website, your employer-facing page, you can see those companies, you can see the descriptions of those organizations, and it's available to you, and also something that you can download right then and there. And so you can also see, okay, how many of those companies have posted those projects? Well, are there projects currently available for your students? You'll be able to access that on demand anytime you like. And then, as I also alluded to, these impact reports are invaluable data that gives you in the last year, what's been going on with micro internships at your institution. And this is a quick summary over the past year, and you can go in and download this, which gives you how many students have logged in, applied, how many have applied to 5 or more, how many were hired, how many projects were completed, the amount earned, all of those high-level details, as well as company data, supervisor data, feedback that they've received, and demographic data, because the students do have the option to self-disclose their race or ethnicity, their gender, their veteran status, their Pell eligibility, whether or not they're a first-generation student. This is something that they do upon sign up. They can always opt to not disclose this information, but given the fact that many of you have shared, hey, it's really helpful to know if these micro internships are supporting students with financial need. Well, that Pell eligibility data, again, right there at your fingertips. So you can see a quick comparison of all who've signed up versus those who were selected for micro internships. You'll be able to download that data real time or print it off and share it with whoever might be needing to see that information. One last feature I will share is that up here at the top, when you have these lists of projects that you want to share or students that you may want to reach out to, you can access these resources where you can find links in our toolkit to be able to quickly download the templates, the email templates, and copy and paste that list of projects that you just downloaded right into this email. And now you can send in less than a minute all of the different projects to your students right then and there. Now, one other feature I want to share with you if you're working with students, and that is that you can now provide one-on-one coaching and proactively see how many of those students that, how have your students been doing when it comes to micro internships. And so I'm going to pick on a couple of our hypothetical students, starting with our rock star here who's done 6 projects, she's completed 6 projects. Let's take a look at Annalise's profile here. And you can see that they have a robust profile with a photo. It's a kind of confidential photo here, but a little personal statement, some documents that would include samples of their work or certifications or maybe their resume. They have highlighted some of their experiences. And then further on down, you can now see the projects that they have applied to, where they have been hired, and where they have completed. And so in the case of, I'll pick on this resource logistics group landing page redesign, you can see this is how, in this case, Annalise responded to this question. You can see the feedback that the student has received. You can see the details about that particular project, and so on. And so now with this information, you can see, wow, overall, she did a nice job, communicated very, very well, might need a little extra coaching on this quality and accuracy presentation and or skills area. Good tidbit to know the next time you're meeting with this student who clearly has a lot of great experience, but this could be an opportunity to provide some additional coaching. To give you another example, I'm going to pick on a student that maybe you're meeting with and say, you know what, I would really love to do micro internships. I've applied, but I wasn't selected. All right, let's find out what's going on with Annie. And we can see, wow, Annie, you don't have much in your profile. You didn't really provide any information that's of value. Even your major was not capitalized. And gosh, as a doctorate student, that is a bit of a signal that maybe this is not something that you're putting your full effort into. And gosh, Annie, you don't have a lot in your profile that's, photo, and it's okay if they don't have a photo, but again, opportunity to improve, no headline, no resume or any of those things. Okay, so we got some opportunities to improve just on the profile alone. Let's take a look at that application response. Well, let's click on the project. And I think I'm the best employee. Not going to flatter, but a great opportunity for you to coach, to be able to say, Annie, we've got some opportunities here for you to make some improvements. And let's talk about ways that you could better answer this. Why should we select you question? So for those of you who've really looked at ways to really support your students, to be able to proactively see, all right, who are those students who are the real high flyers that are just doing a great job, the Edwards of the world that are applying to a lot, but maybe not getting selected. Now you have the ability to see, all right, let's dig into Edwards' profile. Let's see where they may need some additional support. And you can, when you're meeting with them real time, pull that up right then and there. Or when you're looking at your data that you can access on demand, you can see, okay, Edward, we need to talk. Let's make a time to chat, because you really have some opportunities to maybe do some additional improvement. So those are, again, Parker Dewey Plus features available to you on that on the new tool on demand. I want to share some news that also might be helpful for many of you, because I do recognize some names and faces, and that some of you are eligible for Parker Dewey Plus already at no cost. And that is including those of you who are part of an existing program funded by your institution of at least $10,000 per year or more. Now, this doesn't include the ambassador unless you wanted to use one of your projects that you're already paying for that. But again, if you already have a funded program of micro internships for your students, you will have access to Parker Dewey Plus. You also might be eligible if you have a Parker Dewey administered program that benefits your institution. So two that I'll specifically mention that are going on right now is the DeLuca micro internship program, which benefits any community college or four-year institution located in Connecticut or Florida, as well as all HBCUs and members of the HSI Career Collaborative. Thanks to the generosity of the Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation, who recently renewed a grant. It's changed a bit, but one of the changes is that it funds micro internships, Parker Dewey Plus for the eligible institutions. So we'll talk about how you can get started and how you can get set up just in a moment. But if you are a DeLuca eligible school, this is available to you for the year at no cost. Similarly, those of you who are part of Kansas public colleges or universities, you too have access to Parker Dewey Plus at no cost, thanks to the Kansas micro internship program, which was recently received statewide funding, so significant additional resources that's available. And so that, again, includes access to this tool. And again, these don't include the student ambassador micro internships unless you wished to self-fund that particular project. And again, we recommend budgeting around $400 for that particular project. Keep in mind, this is available through the duration of the program, or if it's a time-specific program. What does that mean? Well, let's say your next funded program is going to kick off during winter break, and you're going to start promoting it to your various stakeholders October 1st. Great. Your Parker Dewey Plus subscription would begin on October 1st. You wanted to do it earlier, certainly happy to have that conversation, but that's just the general base for how we would calculate that year for you for your program eligible schools. And so DeLuca and Kansas institutions, you can see the dates on the slide for your access. And certainly this is something that you can continue to fund after these programs have wrapped, but for the next almost a year, you would be eligible to have that access to this tool at no cost. So those of you who don't already have access to the tool, to Parker Dewey Plus, because of the programs that I just mentioned, wanted to share a few other ideas for funding this resource outside of your own budget and career services. Because again, I recognize that those budgets are limited and may already be spoken for, given that it's late June. One of which is employers and potentially using this as an ad hoc additional option for your employers who are sponsoring your institution. And I'll give you some examples of that and share with you a little bit more what that could look like. But essentially, if you have employers who are already sponsoring your institution, who've already said, gosh, we really want our name and logo on your website. We want to increase brand awareness. We want to increase engagement with first or second year students, because students don't know who we are. And by the time they get to junior year, they already know who they want to work for. And we're not that company because students don't know who we are. Or maybe they have an affinity or a real desire to reach populations that are maybe hard to engage because they don't come to career fairs. Think about maybe your student athletes or your students that are already working and have some great work skills, but can't come to the career fair because their time doesn't permit in a schedule. So just to give you, again, some more examples to come on that. Another group of folks might be those alumni. And again, this might be something where if you have an alum who is generously offered to fund experiential learning at your institution, or have said, hey, we really want to support students being able to get paid experiential learning or paid experience. This is an option. Again, that might appeal to a donor or an alum that has a strong affinity for your institution. And then another option is an academic department, particularly if you have a professor or academic department who says, yeah, we've got an assignment in a career planning or professional development course where we want to expose students to additional experiential learning opportunities. Maybe they already are saying micro internships or applying to or creating a Parker Dewey account is part of an assignment already. That might be something that you could certainly say, hey, we have this additional resource. And by the way, professor, now you can access a list of all of your students who have created an account, whether they've applied to a project, see their application responses so that it really makes it easier for them if they have applying to a micro internship or creating an account or profile as part of an academic assignment. Also, those of you who are working with faculty that have an entrepreneurship course, a capstone project course that, again, want to offer micro internships as part of this library of options for students who are needing capstone experiences. Many institutions do say, hey, you can have this project with this nonprofit. Now, it's not going to be paid, but you can do that. Or you can apply for a micro internship on Parker Dewey, and that, if you're selected, will give you that paid experiential learning and might be something that could align with that entrepreneurship or capstone course. We also do have higher education institutions who have provided funding for all of their students in a particular academic course that we can certainly talk about what that might look like if that, again, is something that aligns with any of your goals. So happy to talk about that offline, but that's another option. But going back to those employer sponsorships, what could that possibly look like in terms of a package to offer these employers? Well, here's just 3 ideas. And I know there's a wide variety of sponsorship packages that are being offered to employers that have a variety of different benefits. Here are 3 options: $3,000, a $5,000, or a $10,000 level, and what that would mean in terms of where those funds could go. And so in the $3,000 option, $2,000 of that pays for your Parker Dewey Plus subscription for the year. And then you can also offer to those companies that branding opportunity that looks like this, saying, okay, micro internship sponsored by XYZ organization. These are student-facing websites so that your students can see that this is a company that maybe they should have on their radar. Or maybe this is a series of companies who have committed toward experiential education and wanting to support your institutions. And again, we can put one or multiple sponsors on your student-facing website, depending on how you want to implement these different packages and options. $3,000 sponsorship also sends $1,000 back to your office, your team, to use however you use sponsorship funding. And similarly, the $5,000 and the $10,000 packages are additional options, providing that branding onto your Parker Dewey websites, but also adding micro internships for your students to be able to work with that sponsoring company. So if you have, for example, a company that says, I really want students to know about who we are. I want to work with your first or second year students, get on their radar. Great. They can have that $5,000 sponsorship, and it pays for Parker Dewey Plus, gives them that branding. $1,000 again goes back to your office, but then it also pays for up to 10 micro internships for your students to work with that company. And then same thing with that $10,000 package. And again, these can be structured however you see fit, but these are just some examples that allow you to not only have this Parker Dewey Plus resource funded by these sponsors who want to work with your institutions, but it also generates additional revenue for you and for your students as well. So these sponsorship, these are all live websites. You can check them out in greater detail if that would be helpful to you. And similarly, just to give you a bit of a snapshot, because our Parker Dewey tech team has not just been working on Parker Dewey Plus administrative tools for our higher education partners, but also really ramping up some of the resources for companies who have said, yeah, we love these projects, but we also want to know a little bit more about how I can use this as a recruiting tool and be able to make sure I'm engaging the populations I want to reach and so on. And so just to give you a bit of a snapshot, we also have set up Parker Dewey pages like this, but for companies who are doing micro internships en masse, meaning not just 1 or 2 projects, but 10, 20, 50, 100 projects. And they are having their entire organization, like the case of Xylem, who are using micro internships across the organization and their sales team and their operations team, their HR team, and all of them. And so we set up these pages to highlight what and how these companies can get started and make it very easy for them to post these projects. And similarly, if you have companies who say, we are looking for solutions on how to best recruit your students, this is, again, that dashboard that we are developing for companies that, again, still in the works, but just to give you a bit of a sneak peek for these employer partners, it's going to give them the access to be able to see who are these projects, or these students that they've shortlisted, who are the students that they've worked with, who are the students who have applied and have expressed interest in their organizations, be able to see who are the hiring managers who have engaged with micro internships and so on. One of the nice things about micro internships from an employer's perspective is it engages not just the college recruiter, but it also engages organization across the organization. All of those department heads that your students are ultimately going to work for, it engages them earlier in the hiring process to be able to say, wow, yeah, that student, they really are amazing. And gosh, I would really love to move beyond that project and hire them for that internship role that we're still trying to fill. Or to that first year student, we need to stay in touch with them. I want to do more projects with them. And then come their junior year, they'll be the first person I want to hire for that internship that summer. This is where we're seeing micro internships used at scale by these companies so that it's not just 1 or 2 projects, but are really just being an ongoing resource that'll support your students indefinitely. And to give you another resource, just to keep this on your radar, what are some of those pain points and challenges you're hearing from employers? Print this flyer off. Have it at the ready. Have it, if you work with employers, put it on your bulletin board in front of your desk. And just know that if the company's coming into your office and saying, hey, I really want to engage a wider array of students, or I really want to hire somebody, but I don't have a full-time role or an internship available. This can be sort of your talking points for how a micro internship can help. So have it at the ready. So you can quickly and easily go ahead and post and get them engaged. So a few final logistical questions, and then I'll open the floor to other questions that my colleagues haven't had a chance to answer or that maybe should be answered live. Next, when will it be available? as early as July 15th. So want to give you a bit of time to let this settle a bit, share it with whoever you might need to be sharing it with. Those of you who already have access at no cost to these other funded options, I'll share with you how you can get started and what steps need to come in place to make sure you're up and running by July 15th. Next, how many licenses, if you will, can I get? Well, every career office, as many as you want or need per office. So talking about career center, university, whatever, career center, great. Your student-facing colleagues, your employer-facing colleagues, you can certainly give access to all of those as long as it's a school email address, just again, because of the privacy of the data. If you have a decentralized career structure at your institution, then every career center that must have its own Parker Dewey Plus license, just to kind of clarify that. It's a one-year subscription, and we talked a little bit about the July 15th date, but if you wanted to have access at a later time in the academic year, we can certainly turn it on for you at a later time. Now, if any of you are joining us today from a nonprofit organization, I know we do have a number of nonprofit entities, and I'm not talking about education providers, not boot camps, and not, of course, higher education institutions, but a nonprofit. Is Parker Dewey Plus accessible? At this point, it is not. This is a functionality that we are going to be developing in the coming months, but at this time, Parker Dewey Plus is exclusively available just to education providers, colleges and universities, workforce orgs, and again, boot camp and other training providers. Lastly, in hiring multiple student ambassadors, you're welcome certainly to do so. The Parker Dewey Plus paid subscription does cover just one student ambassador, but if you wanted to hire the student again and hire somebody for the spring, certainly you could do so, and that could be a self-funded option with if you wish to do so. And just to be clear, as this just did come up earlier in a conversation, these student ambassadors are working as micro interns, and so the project is posted on Parker Dewey. The student is selected by you, but they are paid from your Parker Dewey Plus subscription. So there's no added cost. This isn't work study or anything like that. This is just part of that subscription. And lastly, just to give you a roadmap of how you can get started. First and foremost, share this with your team. Anyone who was not able to join us today, we'll be sharing the slides, we'll share the recording. Certainly you can ask whatever follow-up questions that might be top of mind. We have a flyer that spells out the different partnership options. And certainly if you wanted to learn more about the programs, we're happy to get you on board and to have that conversation. But if you're interested, you're ready to go, want to get started, that is going to begin with an interest form that we will share via email along with the slides and the recording. And so that's where it'll start. Once we receive that interest form, which just asks for some contacts that we would want to or need to be in touch with in order to get you set up with Parker Dewey Plus, we'll send you the terms of use. If you don't have it already funded, we'll send you the invoice for the subscription. And then once those have been signed and paid, your access is turned on. Then you can select your student ambassador whenever you wish, and we will be doing ongoing training and support via a variety of different communication methods from myself and the rest of the team, just to help you take full advantage of this, share best practices, share what other schools are doing who are participating and engaging with the tool. So that being said, I know there were quite a few questions, so I will see, and certainly if my colleagues want to go off mute, if there's specific questions that would be helpful. But I do see, yes, we will receive a recording and the slides if you were not able to make it live time. Looks like we did have a question about the who owns the data. And so certainly this is something that Parker Dewey is the owner, if you will, of the data, but we do have, as part of our user agreements, the ability to share it with an approved official of the institution. That's why, again, we want to make sure you're using school email address before providing and giving access to this particular resource and tool. And see, are there other questions? I know Danielle and Jeffrey, you both were staying very busy. So are there other
Someone
questions?
had asked if there's a timeline for when they need to upgrade, if they're interested in doing so, or if it can be done at any time.
Yeah, great question. It can be done at any time. The first step would be to complete that interest form. And so we will send that out with the slides and the recording so that if you wanted to get started and know you want to do this, great. You can complete the form today. You can certainly also do so at a later time. No problem whatsoever. How long does it take to turn on was a question. So when you complete that form, it will state the desired date for when you would like your subscription to be live. And so we will have it up and ready to go so that by that time, that particular date comes to pass, you'll be ready to go, and we'll send the access instructions to the different individuals at your institution who have been granted access. So it was a question for those of you who are funded for by another program. So those of you, for example, in schools in Connecticut or Florida, thanks to the DeLuca Foundation, and this includes HBCUs and the HSI Career Collaborative institutions, this does provide you with this Parker Dewey Plus subscription to that tool I was demonstrating live that is available to you at no cost through the duration of the DeLuca program, which is through May 31st, 2025. So another question, a little clarification as far as how long it takes to go live. I mean, with Parker Dewey, we try to make things as efficient as possible. So as you might recall, turning on a website or things like that when you're first launching your partnership, that can be done in 24 to 48 hours. When it comes to a Parker Dewey Plus subscription, again, completing that interest form, we'll get to work on the back end with everything we need to do to get that set up so that by the time the terms and the invoice have been signed and collected and all those I's dotted and T's crossed, you'll be ready to go. Because this is something that, again, our tech team has been very, very awesome at designing it, and it's very quick and easy and ready to go for you whenever you're ready. All right, what other questions have come up? Very exciting, lots of enthusiasm, so thank you so much. I too, super excited to be able to share this with you all. I can't wait to tell your team. Awesome, Debbie, thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. If there's any final questions, you can see our emails. We're not super secretive about emails around here. There's no point. So certainly feel free to reach out directly. We're, again, real excited to be able to offer these additional options for you and with you. And certainly don't be a stranger if you think of other questions. And again, want to look forward to this next stage and better supporting your students, your employers, and micro internships at your institution. So again, thank you so much for your interest today. I'll stick around for another moment or two if there's any final questions, but if not, I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day and happy 4th of July.